in Blade 3 where he's like, I'm forward ready, motherfucker. It's like when Wesley Snipes says it, it sounds cool. When I say it, it's like, okay, buddy, get out of here. Says the employee from Target. But then also in the first Blade, he says, I know people who know me have heard me say this like a million times, but like it's the greatest line ever. He goes like, someone says something and he goes, "There's always motherfuckers trying to ice skate uphill." Which I don't know what that means, but it sounds really like there are always.
Like doing it the hard way.
Yeah, right.
The hard way, Alex.
That's right.
Break that down.
That's right. It just sounds like so mysterious. Like, man, Wesley, wish you were around. Like he's still alive, but you know, it's like it's not like doing movies or anything.
Like he's dead. Call it too soon.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about Kesa Gatame.
Wow, I like that.
Thank you. Yeah. So, thank you. So, I have Alex down at side control. And we'll have sort of your head facing the camera, I think. So, we spin it just about that way. Perfect. So, we're in side control, right? We've decided to sit through to clear this frame, but we can also sit through, clear this frame, and kind of hang out in this spot, right? This is a very effective thing if what the situation I'm dealing with is they've kind of gotten on their side and they're starting to actually gain some traction of creating space, right? So if I'm here and Alex shrimps out a little bit and we're now in this fight where I'm sort of chasing you down, so get all the way on your side, please. Yep, and you're like shrimping away, right? And I'm chasing him, so keep shrimping, right? I'm chasing him down. I don't want to lose my position. So one option, so when you keep shrimping, I want you to keep this shoulder behind you. Okay. Right, so throw that shoulder behind you. Yep, keep this ring right, exactly. If I keep chasing him and keep tripping hard, there's a good chance that that knee is going to be able to poke inside, right? So we turn this way. Now he's poked the knee inside. He's able to get his posture, recover guard, right? So we're going to use Kesa Gatame as a means of beating this knee, right? I.e., he's here. You have your frames good. You do a big shrimp, right? That knee starts coming into play. So I sit through, okay? If I sit through and the knee is still underneath me, so if, can you see that on the camera that his knee is there, Jeremy? Mm-hmm. Okay, all I'm going to do here, guys, is shoot my hips forward and shoot my hips backwards, just to beat the knee. This little motion, by the way, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because that's where we're really getting into some nuances, but if I grab it, turning your hips and sort of scooting them back and forth to clear these knees is a really effective tool to prevent guard recovery. So as he's here, you do a big shrimp, you get on your side, right? You sit through, come back. It just beats that knee from becoming a factor, getting between us in a way that's genuinely consequential. Once it gets here along the midsection, we're in a little bit of trouble. Furthermore, once I sit through and I get here, right, you'll end up in a scenario quite often where they keep their frames strong, right? We talked about using this to get to the shin pin, but I want to freeze at this moment in a second. This is sort of our low Kesa Gatame where I'm kind of hanging out across the midsection. But this is not as vulnerable as a position as you might think, because even though I don't quite have access to his head yet, if you're really active preventing me from grabbing your head, so be very active preventing me. Yep. If he starts trying to shrimp away, as long as I keep my near side hip kind of glued to his and my elbow pinching, go ahead and start shrimping away. I just kind of come along for the ride. You see what I mean? So keep shrimping. It's just hard for him to get space, to create distance, which is what he needs from this position, right? I'm sure every single one of us has been at some point inside control on the precipice of escaping, and then the person sits through to Kesa Gatame, and you're like, dang it. I was about to get out, and now I'm not. In that exact code. So we're going to do a couple things from this, guys. Let's see, I'm going to show two attacks from just this basic scenario. And I'm going to show them from this low Kesa Gatame. The reality is, in a perfect world, we're going to get high Kesa Gatame, pin the chest, and there's all sorts of fun things you can do from here, right, once I get this high position. But we're going to work the low Kesa Gatame today because there's not as much. Let me put it this way. This is a very strong pinning position. The finishes aren't really as much there. There's some basic stuff in the sense of if he frames with this arm, I can catch this and switch back. So I got my Americana and so on. But the reality is this is much more of a pinning position than it is an attacking position. So while this is a valuable position to hold on to, you don't have as many weapons from here. And I like weapons. So we're going to stay here on the hips. Okay? So I'm here on the hips. He's got his frames. The first thing I'm going to do, right, we talked about, first off, my number one option, we go back to last Wednesday, I believe it was, scoop my hips, or windshield wiper in, scoop my hips back, knee comes over, now I pin the arm, and we're good to go. That's number one. Let's say he doesn't pin that elbow to the floor. Let's say this frame is kind of up here, okay? What I'm going to do, guys, what I'm going to do here is pin the wrist to my chest. Let me get this arm out of the way just that visibility-wise. I'm going to pin his wrist to my sternum with a sort of a starfish hand. Starfish. Pin it to my chest, okay? If you guys notice, my thigh is underneath his tricep, right? So if his elbow is to the floor, I'm not going to have access to this. I'm here, right? I can scoot in a little so that his elbow wedges against my hip bone. And what I'm going to do is my weight's kind of on my right elbow. I'm going to drift forward enough to step my foot over his head. I don't need, now keep in mind guys, let me just make a quick note. What I don't need to do is this. And like yogi my way into there. I just need to lean forward enough to just, like with a straight leg, scoop. And then once I get here, I can kind of find my position. You see what I'm saying? If you notice, like, does this look like my knee is turning at any sort of weird angle? Right? I'm not staying down and trying to do this. That's not good for your knees. What I'm doing is leaning and just lead with your knee and then walk your foot back. Right? If you guys notice, I'm kind of turning my knee down and hooking his head. Yeah. From here, guys, I'm just going to armbar him right here. Very simple. Okay? Stupid simple. There's a couple different ways I can do it. I can take his arm. So if one of them isn't working, then do one of the other ones. I can take his arm towards this empty pocket, armbar here. I can glue it to my chest and arch my hips. I can just turn and look at his feet, and there's it there. So these are all three options, right? To the hip, to the chest, turning away. All three valid options.
Oh, ooh.
This is a very good one because what happens is you get to this Kesa Gatame position, he starts pushing, you're pushing, right? Pushing, pushing, pushing. Thank you. Catch, and get your armbar. Yeah, this is one of my favorite armbars. It's so stupid, like so sneaky, it catches people all the time. Let's say he defends though. I'm going to go through just the two major attacks from here, okay, that I want you guys to work on and give you some time to drill it. Let's say though Alex does not want, he's going to be rough on your shoulder, just give you a heads up. So let's say I'm going for this armbar and I go and he doesn't want it to happen, right? You can do that, but I'm probably going to overwhelm that. But what he will do is he will, with this free hand, block my foot. So go ahead and push my foot away. Thank you. I'm going to catch, let me get this out of the way for a second. Catch his elbow with my armpit, bring it behind the back of his head, connect my hands, and square up. And lock him in what's called the bear trap. I'm being nice right now, but if you're being mean, you're going to just compress this human in a way that's quite unpleasant. How do you feel about that, Alex? This is not a nice thing to do to someone. Okay? From here, I can basically do what I want. You could basically just pressure squeeze them into doom, or post on the hip, take to the mount, and then without getting too deep into this, you don't have to bother with all this, but just to show like the options here is if I just and go right to the back. It's like really easy to get there. But what's most important, I can go to the mount, I have my opponent pinned, there's a lot of cool stuff. So, from the top, actually let me get here, get someone else in. Jim, I'll grab you, you got them long hands, please. So, we're in side control. Let me get your head facing the group, please. Like, so number one, I'm in side control, he's got me framed. First and foremost, he starts shrimping, right? He's aggressively shrimping. So what we're trying to deal with, go and get on your side and start shrimping away, is me having to chase him. Because if I keep chasing in a straight line, this knee's going to come in here. It's very unlikely you're going to win that race, right? It's like, if you have us do races down the map, one person on top, one person underneath, going in a straight line, chances are bottom person, you get that knee in every time. So number one is, so you start shrimping, right, is I can just beat that knee. I can scoop my hips back to turn his, see how his knees turn to face the ceiling there, right? So I'm beating his hips now. If they can't turn their hips this way, then they can't shrimp their hips that way, right? So that's number one. It's just using this movement to beat it. Even if he kind of gets the knee in there a little. So let's go really slow-mo on this one. He shrimps, and that knee starts to poke in. Sit through. I can be on top of the knee. Hips to the floor, hips going back. You guys roll with me. You'll feel like I do that all the time. It's a really frequent motion for me. From here, he frames. Right? He's not just giving me. Well, actually, let me take one step back. Again, if he doesn't do anything, sure. Scoot high, get on his chest, collect. That's a good pinning position. Good wide base. But we're not going to do that. He's going to frame. He's going to be smart. So pin the hips. Gluing my elbow to my own hip. Right? I'm not worrying about him. I'm clamping myself together. So if he starts trying to scoot, good. It's very difficult for him to get space. He can kind of turn and wiggle and squirm, but it's like so you keep fighting, right? He turns that way. There's my bicep pin, right? Like once that elbow goes down to the floor, there's my bicep pin. If instead he chooses, so he chose a very hip turn his body path, which is like that's a more technically sound decision, is turn over on your side, try to get space. But let's say he chooses a more, I'm strong, and tries to push me away, right? Here's my armbar. See what I'm saying, guys? If he scoots and he puts the elbow down, back, pin. If he pushes, catch the arm. Remember, almost like I want him to stab me with a knife.
Chest.
Catch the arm, drift, knee first, foot follows, scoop the head, and then what are the three spaces, right? Hip, chest, turn. Finally, I'm going here. This also happens, let me make one last note too. Say I get the foot over the face, and he pushes the foot off. There it is as well. Okay? I'll get this arm out of the way so you don't get all twisted up. So let's say I'm here, I'm going to step over, he pushes, armpit behind the tricep, catch under the head, collect your hands, get your bear trap. This is quite awesome. This is also like pretty cool too, if you guys want one little other sneaky weapon, is he's gonna fight like heck to get this elbow free, so fight like heck to get that elbow free. Thank you. There's your thank you. It's all there. It's all there in this easy package of Kesa Gatame, this old thing. Does that make sense, guys? It's like a lot of small things, but that's why I want to show it all up front, give you guys a bunch of time to draw it. So, excellent. Let's start our workout. 1, 2, 3.